Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You have called into the Grown Folks Talking Express Yourself Network. This is a progressive spiritual calling network. This is a special program combating systemic racism through education podcast series presentation this evening. It's going to be held tonight for the hours of 6:10 to 7:40 p.m. Standard Time. Today is April 1st, 2024, and no, this is not an April Fool's joke. Featuring unfiltered and thought-provoking discussions by our Newark Board Council for the board candidates that will be Deborah Salters and J.T. Coulter. The subjects we're going to be exploring this evening, we're going to talk about the Creed Report. We're going to questionable financial expenditures, de facto segregation, racial apartheid, board cover-up of racism in the Newark schools, and more. The crisis regarding the April 16, 2024 NDOE election based on the past two elections, less than 2% audience. Please listen to this, this is very important. Less than 2% of the African American voting population voted, when almost 90%, 98% of eligible voters of any community in a free democracy elect to vote in a school board election, the children will suffer as the result of that. When we have, as I said before, we have to encourage Newark residents to turn out to effect an improvement for the children's self-esteem and overall health and well-being. Again, the number that you can dial into is 520, which you have, 525-8633. If you know anyone who's available to come in and join us, of course. The number again is 520-525-8633. These conversations will be aired on the following dates and times as well. April 5th from 8 to 10, April 7th, 12 to 2 p.m., April 12th, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., April 14th, 12 to 2 p.m. The host of the show is Mr. Stanford Joseph Williams. Combating Systemic Racism Through Education is the name of the show, the podcast series. To contact Mr. Williams, you can contact him at 862-353-0833. His email address is Kiplinger. That's K as in kite, IPPLINGER. Let me say that slowly because I am speaking a little fast. That's K as in kite, I as in ice cream, P as in Paul, P again, L as in Larry, I as in ice cream, N as in Nancy, G as in girl, E as in Every, R as in Randy. The number 5 at gmail.com. Okay, again, today is April 1st, but we're not having any jokes here. This is serious. Again, welcome everybody. Mr. Williams, how are you? Welcome, sir.
And thank you. Welcome to you and the two board members vying for the seat. There are 10 people running. Actually, 9 people running for 3 seats, and 1 person is running for a 1-year term. This is a very important election, and I start out by again looking at those figures. If only, now we're talking about the African American community now, if only 2%, with Fannie Lou Hamer and Dr. King and these people dying and beating on the bridge and losing their lives, and when any community, I don't care what community it is, if you're in a free society and only 2% of the people show up, let's not have disturbances here. When only 2% show up, it's a sad day. Now, I'd like to start off by saying the election is April 16, 2024. But we've discovered some things en route to this election that, number one, Okay, somebody's got some. Please don't disturb me. I'm going to have to mute everybody if I keep hearing that sound, please. It's very distracting. Let me see. Hold on. Okay. Now, the election is disturbing when only 3% of the whole population shows up. But of that whole population, the African American community, that part of it, I don't think more than not even 2% showed up. That means almost 98% of them stayed home. Now, are they so alienated from the needs of their students and the needs to improve the school district and the need for students to be able to read and write and count and not just survive, as Deborah Coulter said so beautifully, but to thrive as well as survive? I'd like to start off then by saying of those 9 candidates running for 3 seats, what I call a part of systemic racism. Now, even though it was white people who created the white supremacy system and wanted to keep black people down in society, and they did a good job of it for years, when black people become in charge of the same systems that white people left, and they do the same things to black people that were being done to them when the white people were there, that's called systemic racism. And in the city of Newark, we have a problem called systemic racism. And that is to say, the mayor's office on down supports it. The Newark Board of Education supports it. Roger Leon, the superintendent of schools, supports it. They have a board that is run by a man named Hassani Council, who's the president. He supports it. The reason why I say he supported it is because when we tell the story about what happened at Global Studies, you'll be very shocked and surprised that this thing has continued on quietly as it has. I'll start out with Ms. Deborah Salters. Ms. Deborah Salters is located at A1 on the line, the voting line, and she's going to, Chase Coulter is here as well, but we're going to start with her first. And I want to say we're going to start with her first because of there are 3 candidates that Grown Folk Talking is going to support for the nomination board member. Because the ones that they have up there now are part of the Do Nothing board or part of a put-up person to be on the board who's only going to look out for the Portuguese. She's already said that. She's going to look out for the Portuguese. Remember, the Portuguese were slaveholders and slave owners too. And so when the mayor of Newark supports the Portuguese interest and 2 black people, 1 black person and 1 Dominican, who have gone along with the status quo, we have to be very disturbed by that. So I would think that you want people in there who are going to try to make a change. And Deborah Salters is one of the 3 people that we at Grown Folks Talking are supporting. Ms. Salters, you may go first. Please. Ladies first.
On it. Deborah Salters, A1. Good evening, everyone. A1 gets it done. A1 and amen. Let's make some change happen here in this city. I am running because I'm tired. I'm tired of the status quo. I'm tired of seeing our children suffer, some in silence, some in rebellion. As was stated by our host here, we have seen this school system decline for the last 10 years under the watch of the current board, who will tell you that they're doing a good job. Newark forward, that's all they said. And again, I'm going to continually repeat this. You can move forward, but forward where? Forward off the cliff? Forward further into darkness? Further into the abyss? Further into more ignorance and annihilation of our children's education and brain cells? Right? So this is why I am in this race. I believe in us. I believe in our children. And as I was listening to the host, I used to be one of the parents, and I had no children in the school system, but years ago, I used to give out coats and book bags and glasses and all of these things at the schools in Newark, the various schools. So the liaisons were like, listen, the way that you talk to these children, you don't even need to bring anything. Just show up. You know, it was a retired principal and myself. But what I found was that by fourth grade, parents give up. They stop going to the meetings. They stop inquiring. And those are the statistics, right, coming from the schools, coming from the liaisons. And so parents get discouraged. They get disheartened. And at the same time, because they're working 2 and 3 jobs, and I'm not talking about the bums, the lazy ones who I've heard say, I can't wait till school starts to get you out of my hair. Like, we as the teachers are their babysitters. I'm not talking about those, but I'm talking about the parents who were really working hard, working 2 and 3 jobs, trying to keep a roof over their children's heads. You have the administrators lying to these parents. And when the teachers, when we try to send home an honest report or we try to put an honest report online, we're told, no, don't do that. We don't want that information in the network, right? And here's the issue with all of these things. You have a board, a non-existent board that has been sitting there. You have Roger Leone making a little shy of $300,000 a year, whose contract kind of snuck and rolled into another 5 years because no one was paying attention. How does this happen? Because the ones who are supposed to be watching are not watching. They are literally getting fatter and lazier and more complacent on our dollar, taking trips and going here and going there. Meanwhile, our children cannot read above a third grade level. And they were the ones rustling, we got to get our school back from state control. And what have they done with it since then? Driven it into the ground. This is about power and control over a $1.5 billion budget. Like the other day, we had a forum on Saturday, and one of the board members, the one who is, and she keeps saying, I'm running uncontested. So why are you showing up to the forums? And this is the thing I need people to understand. You can write people in. Don't just let things be. Those who fought for the power for us to vote and make change, there's a write-in box. So that one who is glorifying the fact that she's in this position and she's uncontested, you all need to write someone in that box. That means we have 4 seats available. She's not cemented in that seat. We need to make a difference and write a person's name in that we want. I want to say that because a lot of people don't understand the power of the writing of the pen. You understand? We can make a change. Doesn't matter if she's uncontested. We can give her some contestation. And yes, I just made that word up. By writing someone in. We have the power. The power is in our hands. And we have to stop sitting on our hands and get up and do something. I'll stop there for now.
Brother Coulter.
Good evening. Good evening, Deborah and Miss Newton.
Hey, good evening.
How are you? Shay Coulter, I have chosen to run and create with Musa a plan called It Takes a Village. And we envision for every student to be able to, once they're done with school, touch the intangible, see the invisible, and do the impossible. We want the boys and girls to be able to have self-esteem, the ability to problem solve, and the ability to feel that the world is their classroom. Sadly, schools right now are preparing children to be lifelong career participants instead of 21st century problem solvers. After
Brother Cole.
In Newark and then outside of Newark.
Jay, there's some kind of disturbance here, like seatbelt, but some kind of noise in the background. Is that? Could you go out and come back, and or are you able to arrest it? You're going in and out.
Can you hear me clear? Can you hear me clear?
No.
Okay, so far, yes.
All right.
There used to be something in the background, some noise in the background.
You still hear noise in the background?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me try to come back in.
Please.
Essentially, It Takes a Village believes that the current board not only has left the board susceptible to corruption, but the city has zero accountability and transparency. There's no accountability and transparency between the school district and the housing authority, and also the school district and city hall. Myself, Deborah, others, we would be bringing transparency to the board. And transparency, not only would that look like us having meetings with the actual community, because currently the school board members, they don't have direct meetings with the community as the legislative arm of the school board, because it would make, if they did do more community meetings with the residents, given that the board, it serves as an at-large board, and they don't have a city as large as Newark. We don't have like school board representatives the way it's set up on city council, where you have a ward person that you can take concerns to. So for them to be a 9-member at-large board, there's virtually only one mechanism to reach them by public, and that's at the public meeting. I envision the role of a school board member to be leaning into the community, holding community huddles themselves so that they can be attentive to the pulse of the community, the parents, and the family. Right now, we have an educational state of emergency, and the current 9-member board, their pulse is not on the people. They're not able to diagnose the condition of education, which is a state of emergency. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, Newark's current education system is on life support. So if we don't send at least 3 new problem solvers to the board, civic-minded problem solvers, we may see 10 more years of corruption and failure, which we are strictly and committed to preventing.
Okay, may I say then, Brother Coulter, I want to make a statement of fact. The mayor's team consists of 4 people. One of them is running uncontested for the seat. All 4 of them were invited to participate in our forums, but one of them wrote in and said that she could not come in because of work considerations, and then added on the other 3 on the team can't come either, so to speak. And they thanked me for inviting them, meaning they weren't about to come and answer any questions about the dereliction of duty by the Board of Education and the dictatorial powers assumed by Roger Leon. And the board has acquiesced and allowed him to run them rather than them be his overseers. So I want to make it very clear. Amiri Baraka would have turned over in his grave 3 times if he knew that this city was being run this way. He almost lost his life fighting to get a better life for the black man and woman of this city, and almost lost his life. And it was due to him that a lot of great changes happened in this city. But what's going on now is not great changes. When you can say to the public that you'll have a forum, even like they had a forum on Saturday, and these people are willing to answer only for so many questions, and they'll just close down whatever forum it is that you're supposed to be discussing. They get these softball questions, cutesy questions, but nothing to do with the serious realities of what's happening in the Newark school system. And so, as Sister Deborah and Sister and Brother Nan Che has said, there are a lot of serious problems going on. Now, about the financial issue, Che Coulter has mentioned the fact that since 1998, the city of Newark has received how many $1 billion? 28?
Well, they've received a minimum of $700 million each year, totaling $30 billion over 26 years.
Okay, $30 billion over 26 years, and
which is the amount of almost an oil corporation.
Exactly. So why is it that third graders, just this past year, third graders in 5 schools, only 1 kid passed in each of those 5 schools, and in 5 other schools, only 3 students passed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 in those 5 schools. And those schools were in the predominantly areas where black kids go to school. But in the areas where Portuguese, Italian, Latinos, and others, even people who come in across the border, their scores were higher than the scores of the children in the black schools. And my question is there something wrong with these black children? And first of all, if they're all in the same district, are they all getting the same supports, the same supplies, the same everything? Or is it that some schools are getting more or better than something else? Those questions are never being answered. I see where ESL is being pushed in the city of Newark. I understand this man with Facebook. What's his name, Susan? A Facebook guy?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay, he gave $100 million to the city of Newark, and it all went to develop and build up ESL. Now, it's fine to build up ESL for people who don't speak English, but what about the people who speak English but can't even read on the third grade level that's black? We know it's a heritage that's been handed up from the enslaved period till now, and you're sure black children don't do as well on standardized tests as other people do. Matter of fact, in the state of New Jersey, 69% of the Asians pass the third grade test. Only 51% of the white people pass their own tests. And then about, I think, maybe 19% of the black children, actually the Latinos even did better than black children did on the test. I understand. But there's something wrong in those schools. There's got to be something wrong in the schools. Mr. Leone said it was because of the C word, he called it, COVID. But see, if COVID was affecting people that badly, the kids in those schools in the North Ward and the East Ward would have also done as poorly as those kids did who are predominantly South Ward and other, and schools where there are predominantly black children. I think there's a de facto segregation system going on here. You can't have kids all in the same district where some of them do so poorly as not to even have been, they've been taking the test. It would seem that they just sat down and looked at the answers and then panned the paper in, or did even might more or something. Okay? This is a drastic problem here, and that's why we need to change. Ms. Walters, what is your response to that?
So there was an article that was put out, and the title of it was, so you all can go back and look at it. It says, Newark schools enrollment surges as teacher vacancies grow, right? And in this article, it talked about how there was a 78% increase in multilingual students for the 23-24 academic year compared to the last 2 years, right? And they wouldn't, the officials wouldn't say if that was due to the migrant influx, right? Which we know it is, because being a substitute teacher, being all around the different districts and seeing the kids flood in, our children's learning time was cut in half, because now we have to give education to those who don't speak English. And in those classrooms where they're supposed to be 14-1 or, or some ratio like that, it's not happening. You have 1 in 28, one teacher, 28 students, one teacher, 26 students. So now our time is split in addition to, because now it's blended. The special ed or the SPED students don't have their own class. They're blended in with everyone else. So now we are teaching the regular students, our SPED students, and trying to teach children who do not understand the English language that are influxing. 78% increase for the 23-24 school year. So with all of the money that is here, the resources are not being put into our schools for our black children to exceed. You have schools like Global Studies, who is filled with racism and discrimination, money being spent on trips overseas to give them experiences, and the dollars are being spent there versus on the inner city schools. Say like a school like Shabazz, who only has 300 students, 200 and some odd students. East Side is overcrowded by double. You know why? Because they're not busing their kids to other areas or making them go to another school, because they want their kids there for the resources. They have resources that our other schools don't have. So, yes, it is systemic racism. And the problem is Roger Leone, who had the nerve to say that if our children weren't happy at Global Studies, they should leave. That was his response. And then the night when the mayor had the meeting set up at City Hall for everyone to be able to come and discuss, he canceled that meeting because it conflicted with Wu-Tang Clan's schedule at Symphony Hall. And then the next meeting that he rescheduled was quiet and only with some kids, and he basically told them to basically, just get along with everybody. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the reason why, and let me tell you something else too. It's very political, because even with the current council, and they tried to on sneak tip, well, I think we should give voting rights to the immigrants. No, because those who came here and did it correctly, and I know many of them, I have some friends that have bodegas, and they're upset. Like, we had to wait 7 and 10 years, and we had to do it the right way, and you're letting these people come over here, you won't give us $1 or give us a break, and we paid out of our nose, and I respect it. And you're letting them just come in here, walk in here. So where does the benefit of being a United States citizen come in anymore, right? What's the benefit of doing things the right way when you allow these guys to come in and they're getting everything, and our children are put at the bottom? You know why? Because they don't need the black vote anymore, because they're not telling the Hispanics to have abortions. They're coming here pregnant, having more babies. They're telling the black people, get abortions. Look at it. Look at what's going on. We have to wake up and see what's going on. So our power of the vote makes a huge difference, because now if we vote people in, we put people in who we know are definitely for the children and who are definitely paying attention, we can stop this madness. But we have to stop being lazy and complacent. And what I have found as I'm talking to people and getting them involved, people told me, they said, listen, I don't normally do it, but on the strength that you out here talking to us, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make sure I'm registered. I'm going to vote because I see the importance of it. And a lot of times people are telling me, I don't vote because it's the Baraka's just going to get it anyway. Oh, they just going to do it. They've just been doing it. And this is what I had to tell them. So you have given up your power because you think, you've allowed them to trick your mind into thinking that no matter what you do, they're going to be in office. That's wrong, because they only got in the last 2 times, the school board members, with a little over 5,000 votes. What is it, 5,300 and some change? It's more of us than it is of them, and we can change this if we make action, if we get up and move now.
Thank you, sister. It's very interesting that there's a clear. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Go on, brother.
Oh, I was just encouraging what Deborah was saying, and I wanted to circle it back into something. One of my neighbors, I live right in the Avon corridor of South Ward. one of my neighbors was saying something to me about we were looking at data of not only school performance under Booker to now, but we looked at municipal changes to school enrollment to now. And I respect both the father, Amiri Baraka Sr., as a human being, and I respect the current mayor as a human being. But the mayor, as one senior citizen in Newark put it, is a hologram of his father.
He's not even close.
Well, let me finish it out, Deborah, because I want to touch on this and then move to something else. The mayor is a hologram of his dad, as one 78-year-old put it. That's not a bad thing, but we need to have context. The second thing is the mayor made a huge part of his agenda in 2022 for Newark to become a sanctuary city. But when we became a sanctuary city, there were serious concessions, political concessions, and concessions statewide. So not only did we quietly, there were 2 civil rights lawsuits that involved the Spanish children at the district that both the federal Department of Education was involved with, and one of them was a private, was settled. It's I believe the information is operable, but because it's now involved in court, it's not operable. But the analysis from the federal Department of Education and them requiring Newark to ironically meet the burden of Brown versus Board of Education for Spanish children, now they've taken on a new civil rights identity in the under the auspices of first-year English language learners. To pivot from that, when we look at the magnet school enrollment, we still see passive racist practices, because for the South Central and West Ward, less than 10% of black boys are to Science Park High School. If we're able to still, if a parent is engaged and going to evaluate a school and visit a school, then those very children of the engaged parents are able to shop around for schools and look at curriculums, which tips into another matter. There's so many different curriculums, Deborah, Sanford, and Ms. Newton, and listeners. There's so many different versions of school curriculums in Newark. These schools are not sharing practices. So for us to have standardized tests, which the schools, top administrators, some of them being paid strong salaries, they command strong salaries, upwards of $180,000, from principals to everyone at the central office. They have essentially let charter schools, county schools, Catholic schools operate different curriculums in a city without information sharing. They know that at the beginning of the year there are standardized tests that the state government has required them to take. But that test alone, the standardized test, I feel does not measure their experiential knowledge. And the more you tell a child that they're failing a test, it does not help their self-esteem. If I envision myself on the board today, I would want to have conversations, and I believe Deborah is the kind of board member who would have the conversations with the superintendent to look broadly on ways that Newark educators, I'm talking about the teachers in the district, having autonomy over their own testing, more project-based learning to build the self-esteem of the student. Because for Tap Into or these other news outlets to say that less than 5% of the third graders were able to read, that's not a accurate depiction, because there's no way the majority of the third grade girls cannot read. I do not believe that if they were to test the majority of the third grade females, and I'm thinking of the third grade females that I went to school with in the 1990s, Mr. Williams, the females were far more ahead of the boys, us, in class in the 90s. So I don't know if they're just taking a snapshot of Newark on a rusty day versus giving our children a real environment to test where their experiential intelligence can be captured in an assessment. I believe it would take Newark educators to the state of New Jersey, while also meeting the needs of that annual test. We have our own tests and definitions to, align with the national and state standards, but giving Newark teachers autonomy to build in project-based learning for higher self-esteem in the classroom.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deborah. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where you were going. I thought you were going one place, so I'm not exactly sure where you were going with this. But the problem that I find is it's too much testing, right? And the children, so I believe that the report is accurate because you brought up the girls of your era. Education as we knew it, like I said, I had a great education in the city of Newark. Great. But that education is not what these children have today. They didn't take time off to test us and get us ready and prep here, prep for tests. They taught us the necessary material. And then when the test came, we just blew the test out the water because we were being educated. And that is what is missing today.
Yes, that's why.
They're not educating us. They're teaching. What all they're doing is testing these kids. Test. I'm teaching you how to test. And that's all you do is test. So when it comes to subject-verb agreement, when it comes to writing a complete sentence with correct punctuation, they have no idea what that is. Now, there are few who get it right and know and can write on a straight line, but the majority, it is not happening. And that is the problem. The testing that they're doing.
To your point, the current school board allowed the state of New Jersey to burden not only the superintendent, principals, and teachers. They have to use so much in-class time in preparation of those tests. So you did highlight an excellent point. I'm just suggesting, Deborah, that the school board themselves have to actually place real project-based learning, such as the cursive and the other items around science and the other items around hands-on project-based learning. Hands-on project-based learning, such as if we were to drive down 10th Street to Harriet Tubman School, you will see a little garden on the right-hand side. Miss Ali, who was the principal, and Mr. Hoover was our vice principal in the 90s, Miss Ali called that garden the Living Learning Lab. It was the first garden kind of a school for middle schools for Newark, but she was doing that kind of like what you just said, Deborah. She touched on other things that were independent of what the state was going to assess us on, so that we had esteem, confidence, and a belief in black excellence, where the test was just like a normal test that our teacher would give us. We weren't scared of it the way that
right.
I feel the adults have made the children not as warmed up for this test as I see kids going onto, these gaming stores or going to the park. They should be kind of like excited to take it because it's just another day of a challenge. I don't want the children, the boys and girls, to be intimidated by it. So to your point, I just think that the board must do much more and not take the state's definition of education. Newark should look within its own excellence, skill sets, the good teachers that we do have in district that decide to stay. They know the children. It's a matter of getting those teacher voices, the board's voice, and families to the table.
And
okay,
so
Deborah, I want to we want to get on to the Creed report and Global Studies High School. Let's say we'll start off with this. As of January of this year, the Newark Teachers Union went to court to demand that something called the Creed report be released in January this year. And the court denied them the right to get the information. Now, what's the background on the Newark Teachers Union going to court? I would like to say something about my experience quickly. When I was an educator, at Week Creek High School. The New York Teachers Union had 2 strikes in 70 and 71. One about a 3 or 4 week strike, and then they had an 11-week strike. I always found the Teachers Union to not be in the best interest of the teachers. They were in the hip pocket of the Board of Education in general.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I was never supported by myself personally, an individual. You have a Board of Education that's mean and abusive, principals that are mean and vindictive and abusive. You need a union to support you. Well, I am amazed that the union went to court to fight for somebody. And I'll tell you what they were fighting for. The release of the Creed report, because 2 of the teachers at that school had to retire, quit, was run out of school by the racists over there at the school called Global Studies High School. Now, what is Global Studies? Well, it was a school created in about 2020 for students to look at international affairs and go abroad and learn about different cultures and different people, understand, learn Chinese and things of that sort. Now, by 2022, it seems that there's been something revealed there that was evil. For instance, the Chalk Beat people wrote, students from the New York School of Global Studies endured months of racial harassment and abuse. They pleaded for help to the school board in November of 2022. One student described being called a smart chimpanzee in his English class. Another told board members how he and his friends have been called, they put down N-word, they're called niggers. Niggers. That's what they call them, niggers. Nigger. Now he said, oh, Lord, you can't say that word. It's the worst word in the vocabulary. You can't put that up on YouTube. Lord, you can't. Well, maybe it won't go on YouTube, but my mother, who was a district leader in the Little Bricks, and when I was a little boy, always fighting to get the vote out and so on and so forth, my mother was born in 1914. She passed now. She would be turning around in her grave. Matter of fact, she'd be coming up out of that grave if she ever heard me say the N-word. Coming up out. Lizzie Williams was out there raising hell. What do you mean, the N-word? Now, all these people in polite society, they call it the N-word. Well, what they was calling those black kids over there, chimpanzees and niggers. And don't you know, those children came to the Board of Education and pleaded with them. Please help. And you know the Board of Education did nothing about it. Roger Leon, who is the superintendent, but in the Napoleonic complex, listen carefully to this. Roger Leon went over to the school, and the boys were saying, they called us niggers and stuff. You know what Leon said to the boy? Would you like a basketball team at your school?
You sound just like him.
Some of the girls were complaining. They called us these names. They grabbed our hijab off our head. They called us terrorists. One of the members, Dawn Haynes, had a daughter there. And don't you know, she's a super honor roll student. She had to leave the school. She was begging and begging for help. Her own mother. Then all she's own mother did was, and Deborah Salters goes off on this one. She said, my daughter was over there, so we pleaded for help and we didn't get it, so she could go over to another school. Now, we can. So that was going on. Did the mayor know about it? Well, clearly the mayor knew about it. Did the rest of the board members know about it? Some of those same people that are wanting to be reelected, like Miss Santiago, she knew that those kids begged for help, and now she's wanting black people to come out and vote for her and put her back in. Dawn Haynes knew that her own daughter, a super honor roll student, begged for help. And what did she do? Ask for a transfer of her daughter. And then they did a report to study up on what happened there. They made something out called the Creed Report. The Napoleonic man, Leon, had the nerve to say, I'm not giving y'all the report because I don't think I could let you have the report. That's how he talked. And so why can't we have the report? Well, because we're doing some in-house looking at racism in the schools, and the man who perpetrated all the racism on the black kids, him and Leon are supposed to go around to all the schools and see if there's any racists. The racists are in that school, and Leon allowed this man, Ruiz, to get away with this, and it's gone on and on. Now, it's gone from 2022 to 2023, and now it's in 2024, and the Creed report still hasn't been released. Now, what is in the Creed report? Even the courts have been working with the board, and now the board itself is saying that even though Leon wouldn't even let him have it for a while, they're saying we protect the right not to reveal what's in it. And a bunch of racist dogma. 75 or 76% of those students are Latino. 26 are black. But more than that, I heard Che Coulter talk about the aggressions that the Portuguese and others have been moving forward with black people. People forget the Portuguese were slave owners too. So some of these people identify themselves as being white people. You must understand, in this society, being white is all right. If you're black, get back. If you brown, stick brown. You get back. But white is all right. So when they come here, they give them the right to say, I identify with being white. The same thing that lady is vice president, Ms. Kamala. Because her mother in India, she takes the note that she's not one of these Africans, that she's something else when it comes time to be that. Well, anyway, the Creed report has not been released yet. I heard the NACP lady, Ms. Gregory, coming up to the board asking them month after month, release the Creed report. Most people don't even know what the Creed report is. They don't even know what Global Studies High School is. It's like a jail, and it's a very foreboding place. Now, Ms. Salters had an experience over there at the Global Studies just to show you how they treat black people. Ms. Salters?
Yes. So I went over there as a regular citizen after hearing all of this commotion. The board wasn't doing anything. The mayor wasn't doing anything. No one was doing anything. So I went over there like I do. I'm out here in these streets. I go over there. As I'm on the steps, I'm actually walking up to the door with all of the gates and all of this. And so I'm I go to knock on the door, whatever, and some Spanish kids or Portuguese were walking past me, and they gave me this little stank face, like, why was I there? And I looked at them like, don't get snatched up out here. You a kid. I got shoes older than you. You know what I'm saying? I had to cut my eye. I'm like, calm down. So knocked on it. The first they went inside, and the security guard saw me getting ready to look through the door. He comes up to the door and he had an attitude of aggression. But once I smiled and said, hi, how are you? And it broke all of that down. And so I told him what I was there for. I wanted to speak with the principal. Well, why and who are you? And I tell him I'm a community advocate, activist. I'm concerned. I would like to have a conversation with him. This is what I do, blah, blah, blah. So he makes me wait. He goes inside. He comes back with this piece of paper, or he said something about you have to call. And I'm like, okay, well, can I get a number to call? Who am I calling? Who am I talking to? So he went back in. He came back, and he had written on a piece of paper a number. And he told me I have to call the principal's executive assistant and get an appointment. And I said, okay, no problem. So I said, well, what is her name? And at the time, I don't even know if he gave me her name, but I went to the car and I called immediately. She didn't pick up right away, but when she picked up, I told her who I was. I said, hi, I would like to meet with the principal. Well, who are you? I told her, well, what do you want? Why do you want to meet with him? And she kept asking me those types of questions. So I said, well, how soon? Okay, so will it be that? So I have to let me reach out to him, and then I'll get back to you. And I'm like, okay, so am I calling you? Are you going to call me? And how do I have to, go about this? So she's, giving me the humna. And then I'm like, okay, so I'll reach back out to you. And then if I don't hear from you again, I'll call. And don't you know I have not heard from this woman to this day? And it was so off-putting and disrespectful. Number one, I'm a whole adult. I'm a grown woman, And the way that I was treated was almost less than a human being. So if they treated me like that, a fully grown woman who can handle herself, you know how they were treating our children. Hello?
Well, I think before we go on, I want to bring up another issue. The right to vote for the 16 and 17-year-olds, we disagree on that at this point. But what I want to say about it is I thought that if they gave them the right to vote and it was a pilot program and you let the kids vote, would the kids be less than 98%, less than 3% or 1% voting? I would think the children would outdo the Latinos, the Portuguese, their black parents, and everybody else. And instead of them having a 3% turnout total, those kids probably would have had an 80 or 90% turnout. So what they decided to do, I know your point, but I want to get this point out of the way.
Yeah. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So okay, so they decided, wait till next year. That's all fine and good. So I was thinking, why don't you have somebody going to the school or somebody who's working in the school talk to the children about civics, because they don't have civics in school, okay? So I sent emails to every principal of every high school in Newark. I called every high school in Newark. I talked to all the officers. I mean, some of the people were nice, some of them were rude, some of them were okay. All I was saying was, if you want to know who you are, every school, I'm talking about Malcolm X, I'm talking about Weequahic, all of them, they want to know, who are you? Okay, and you tell them. And you say, we want to get the kids ready for the election. Okay, so when I got to this place called Global Studies, initially, the first lady wants to know, like she said to Sister Salters, who are you? I said, I'm just a regular citizen trying to get information on how to get the kids ready for the election. What election she wanted to know? I tell her. Well, I don't know anything about that. Well, okay, you don't know anything about it, but so she wants to fight with me. So I'm telling her, all I want is the principal's email. So she gives me an email, so I send information. It's the wrong email. So I call her back and say, this is the wrong email. What is it? What is the email? His name is R-U-I-Z, Ruiz. I think it's H. Ruiz, whatever. So I asked her, what is his first name? Because somehow you seem to say his first name should be there with the Ruiz part. She says, I beg your pardon. She said, we don't call him by his first name in this school. We call him Mr. Ruiz. I said, oh, okay. Okay, you call him Mr. Ruiz. And no matter what, she finally gave me what was the right email. And she, like all the other schools, refused to allow a civics training thing to happen. Here's what a civics training could be. It could be an outside person who can motivate people, or it could be the principal, the vice principal, or a teacher in the school, or even the student government president to go on the stage and talk about civics. And they refused to have that happen. Why? Because Mr. didn't want it to happen. Now, I think we're probably going to have some questions here for these two awesome candidates who Grown Folks Talking represents. I mean, who we endorse. You can tell these people are well spoken, and they're not scared, and they're not the kind of people who will run away from a fight.
Right.
So, Sister Salters, I'll let you go, and if Brother Colt has a point to make, then we want to open it up to Q&A. Please.
Okay. So your timing on the global studies, because I had pulled up the article before you actually started with that. Now, I'm going to give everyone the title of this article so you can go back and look at the information. And it says, Global Studies Report recommends assessing anti-blackness in Newark school system. Okay, that's Chalkbeat. Now, the very thing that you were saying in here with Leon, and even I remember the board members now. I know board member Williams has been fighting tooth and nail about everything on behalf of the students. So everybody needs to go except Williams, because Williams just needs some help. That's all, because she's about these children. The thing that you talked about, and I'll get back to the report real quick because I don't want to miss this point. You talked about it would have been a good thing, or how you feel about the children voting. I would love that as well. But let me tell you, even when I was out yesterday, giving out cards and talking to people, one young man was like, I said, "Are you registered to vote?" And he was like, I said, "Listen, I need you to register." And then I explained the importance of the vote. And he was like, "Well, who do we vote for?" Of course, I handed him my card. A1 gets it done. But I'm saying this is why I'm glad that they have to wait, because the thing is they can be manipulated, which is what I've always been saying. If these children were like you and I, and they were educated with what is going on, the civics of things, the obligation as U.S. citizens and things like that, if they were those students, then yes, let them vote today. However, they're not those students, and I agree with you. So what I do, I tell people all the time, when I'm teaching children, I'm 5 people at one time, because I'm giving them the lesson that I'm breaking down in depth. I'm teaching them civics about their responsibility as U.S. citizens, the rights and the obligations that they have to stand up for what is right, to not let anyone manipulate them. I'm giving them life lessons and entrepreneurship. So, and I understand you. So what we need to do, right, which is what I've been doing as an educator, and getting in these schools, as you were saying, and educating the children, even over summer or whatever we need to do. But as you saw, sir, yourself, you have those administrators who want to block that, because their whole goal is to manipulate. That's what the whole rush was about, so that they can manipulate these kids to put in who they want to put in. But no, let's educate them so that they can make an educated decision for what is right. Absolutely. They would have turned this board inside out and right side up with the proper education. And so I'm all for them voting, but I need them to be educated voters so no one can manipulate them. And as far as this report, to me, they haven't fought hard enough to get this done. And when you look at it, even the person that they used and paid over $400,000 to, her company wasn't even reputable. Whatever credentials she had was pulled, and they didn't care. They didn't even vet her and paid her all this money for this report. The guy who was one of the firms who helped create NPS Clarity 2020 was one of Baraka's former chief education officers. So, again, this is all recycled with who they know. And this is why we can't get anything done effectively, because they're all one big incestual ball of mess. And that's why we need a new board. That's why you need A1 on this board, because we need change.
Brother Coulter?
Well, thank you, Miss A1, Mr. Salters. Brother Sam, I think that when we're talking about that, whether we're talking about the Creed report or if we're talking about the younger voters that are 16 years old, there's around right now 13,000 of Newark students are being raised by grandparents. So if 13,000 students vote on, say, school lunch as the very first issue that they vote on, I do think that the students would be engaged in the voter process. I know that it seems that this generation is a hyper-excitable era, but they have some gifted and talented aspects of Afrocentricity built in their DNA. And if they have a district staff and policymakers that understand that built-in Afrocentric DNA, they will be voting for school lunch policies and other parts of the curriculum. So I do think they will vote. I also wanted to just pivot on to this creed aspect. Whether we're talking about racism in any aspect of the corporation of white supremacy, whether it's corporate, the education field, the travels to and from, just being black in this country can sometimes have you with your guard up. But obviously, as we go to our workplaces, because I work in the construction business, you have to be able to work across humanity with everybody. But when we look black into ourselves, we find that de facto segregation exists by direct private practice and different customs. But de jure segregation exists by the cause and effect of government policy. So we're seeing the policy over at Global Studies, even to and through, if the climate and culture of the school had become such a relic of slavery that a school board member had to move their child from that environment. I believe that parent made the right decision to move their child from that aspect. But what if a student doesn't have a parent or a guardian that's in their corner to reinstill that they are to not only stay determined to graduate and determined to be a representative of their family in the school? Those students, unfortunately, had their backs turned to them from not only the political establishment, the school district itself, to drag out the process and not we saw no admonishment of the principal there. Ruiz, it references him, and because I worked during the daytime with the construction business, I'm not when the school is operating in the daytime, I was getting information about it, but I'm hearing that there was a dynamic of the Creed report and analysis that involved instructional bullying from a staff level. So that means the adults in that school that were black were treated with a Anglo-Latino aggression as far as why were you here, and when I traveled to the North Ward, my fellow Puerto Ricanos who are Afro Latinos who are into building Afro-Latino solidarity, they don't treat me like that. They don't call me these names. So when I heard of the one young man, and he just got a full offer to Rutgers University, one of the students there, these were students who were going there to learn, and they were met with this unwanted relic of Anglo-Latino aggression inside Global Studies. And then we see a procurement blunder by the school district of procuring an RFQ or an RFT to a professional to do the analysis. That's how Creed comes into the picture. They come into the picture by procurement, by them getting the contract to do the investigation, but we still don't see the trainings happening for educators in the district, across the district, to not have that kind of culture and climate, because that doesn't help the boys or the girls. These fathers and mothers want a school that's going to be their tax dollars actively working to, at the bare minimum, keep them safe. They have other day-to-day matters that requires more of them. It requires the best of North. For us to have a shooting recently at Westside High School, which was an issue, that shows that there are internal infrastructure matters that the board, I would say, is lending resources to political matters and not lending it to school infrastructure matters. And I'm talking about getting the staff who are support staff raises. Because, Deborah, if you and I were to look at the budget, their forecasted budget is not the budget that they amend during the year. And me and you would see things in the public safety area that they could have more budget flexibility for the public safety and for these educators to have the raises they deserve. But you can't have an ecosystem like that if the children are not safe. And that's why we're in this race. Go ahead, Deborah. Go ahead, Deborah. I'm at alley-oop it back to Deborah. You can't have that in this place if the children can't even be safe.
So let me say on the fact of the budget, right? So the board member who is saying that, you know, she called herself explaining where the $1.5 billion budget goes on Saturday. And she said it with such vehemence and vigor. Well, you got to understand that $1.5 billion takes care of the buildings and the lights and keeping the lights on and the air conditioning and things like this. She never once mentioned the children. And that is the problem. The children should be the priority when it comes to the $1.5 billion. But how are you building more schools when you're standing there saying the $1.5 billion, oh, my God, we got to use that for the lights and the buildings and the air conditioning and the this. But you're building more schools, or Leon wants to build more schools because he gave his word that he would build more schools when we don't have enough teachers for the schools that we have. He's trying to expand on a bad product. You need to fix what is here, the money that is here. If we take care of the children now, if we take care of the edifice that we have now, we would have no space for trying to build something else because you gave your word. The children, yes.
Just to encourage what you were saying, but a slight thing. You know, the board is required to do this 3-year strategic plan, which both you and I are aware of. And in addition to that, Deborah, they have to submit a document to the County of Essex, the Comprehensive Equity Plan, which they're supposed to make sure that everything is equitable. They have to submit that document every 3 years, but it's so that they don't discriminate against like women or all of this provisions for the civil rights scope. But they have dropped the ball on that with the special ed and continue on with what you were saying. I just wanted you to highlight that also, because they go from Clarity 2020 to now they're on the Clarity 3030, and we're not getting clear scope on where they are day to day.
Clarity on the Clarity 2020.
Permission to speak here, those candidates. Now, there's an audience can listen to this. These are some powerful people, and they don't back down, and they will be warriors no matter what. Sister Salters, her email is warrior for the people, and she is a warrior. And the two of them would turn the place upside down, and you would be getting some changes on there. I'm saying that when candidates for the board feel free not to go places where they think there'll be hostility or questions asked to them to make them answer something. I mean, I'll repeat back again. I invited 10 candidates. I invited 10 people. And one of them wrote, I can't come because I work. That would have been fine. I can't come because I work. But the candidate not only said that, the candidate said, I can't come because I work, and thank you for the invitation. And so do my other 3 people on the slate. Thank you. Well, how come they ain't got no mouth? I wrote them an independent text message, 1, 2, 3, 4. But they act like they're joined at the hip and they're quadruplets. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I don't know how anybody would think that through. I can't come because I work. And the other 3, well, they thank you for inviting them too, but they can't come, so to speak. I mean, it's very clear they can't come, but that's farcical. Now, we have we're backed up. We got to have a Q&A because we're backed up, and y'all have raised some powerful points. We're going to continue on Friday. Continue on Friday and on Sunday coming, and there's some dates you'll be putting out, and you'll be seeing them. Now, let's have a Q&A, and we'll see how much time we can get before we have to stop around 10 minutes to the hour.
Permission to speak.
Yes, sir, Mr. Leon, Brother Leon.
I've heard a lot of things up here. And at first I want to say that I agree with most of the things, and some things I don't agree with, but I want to get a chance to explain this. I'm not going to make this long because
we don't have time.
Miss Deborah.
Yes, sir.
You are a candidate?
I am.
Okay, listen. Let me ask you a question. I just want to ask you a question.
Yes.
How many, right now, that sit on the board that's melanated?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
It's 5 to 4, actually, really.
4?
5 to 4.
Oh, the other one who's taking the space for the filling in for the 1 year?
Okay. So
I think it's 5 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, let me, Miss Deborah, and the listening audience, and the gentleman who spoke, y'all spoke about a lot of things, so there ain't enough time, to go into what I want to share with you about your statements that you made. But I do want to do this for you. I want to give you a solution to your problem, and then I want to explain it. Now, I've been working for the school system down here in South Jersey for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you said is nothing new under the sun. It's been going on all over the globe when it comes to being, quote unquote, in the hood. Here's your solution. And I'm going to tell you why your solution will work, because I've done it myself. What you do is you get the children and their parents, and you don't send the children to school. This works. I'm telling you because I've done it. They don't go to school. And I don't care how many schools you can get, whether it's the middle school, because we did the middle school, we did the high school. You get the parents together, the kids together, and you don't send them to school. Now, this is why this works. Because, first of all, we would go to school and we would tell our kids to walk out in the middle of school session. That's wrong. We should never do that because you can get in trouble for this. But the way I'm telling you to do this, you cannot get in trouble. Don't send the kids to school. Here's your answer why. They get paid by how many kids is in school. If there's no kids in school, they can't get that money. That 1 point, whatever you said it was, $1 million, that money can't go to them because there's no kids in school.
Billions, Leon, billions.
Well, let's go to billions. Whatever the number is, when you have the kids do not go to school, they can't get paid because there's nobody there to teach. This works because I've done it at a high rate. I guarantee you, if you use that method, they will be calling you, asking you what you want because that's what they did to me. I had the whole where they threw the board meeting that was full, standing room only. Outside was standing room only. And when I came up to the mic to speak, they asked me what I wanted. And I got what I wanted, what they wasn't trying to give us in the first place. And you're right. This is about the kids. So if this is about the kids and not politically motivated, and I believe you're right, because the problems that y'all having, we all have in our communities. But that when you stage that kind of action, I don't want to call it a walkout because it's not a walkout. What it is they're absent from school. And I also ask in the midst of, as they be excused for their absences because they wouldn't be absent if we were standing here talking to y'all about giving them what they so-called deserve. It works. It worked for me. And that was over 30 years ago. And so they can't get no money. And so with that, I rest.
That's so deep. That's so deep and heavy, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. What's his name? What's your name, brother?
And name is Brother Leon. If you want to
Brother Leon. Brother
Yeah.
Che, I just wanted to respond back to you real quick, Brother Leon. Brother Che, so there was recently 2 of those incidences when 2 local different education authorities put that under bed. So there was a student protest and teacher protest at North Star, a walkout, and the students from North Star with the teacher, because the black female teacher was facing systemic racism in North Star, they went to the steps of City Hall. They walked out 2 of their campuses. I guess those are called so-called charter schools. The other instance of resistance would be the global studies. But we don't see the buses going to Trenton to hold the legislators accountable with the money being spent. They let some school districts bus their parents around the way that KIPP does and these other ones, whereas we need to build our own ways to get our message out so that that never happens to our kids. But he's right. We have to, the authority should be in those parents, Deborah, to shift the narrative. But go ahead, Deborah.
Not even
Okay.
not even that.
Brother Leon, please.
Waiting on the next question.
Because Brother Leon, currently under Joe Biden, as a parent, if you get too radical, Joe Biden will stick the FBI on the person.
Okay.
So you got to be more specific, Leon.
Okay.
You got to be more specific. A parent will be identified.
Leon could come on. We're gonna have 4 more of these shows. He could come on and especially you then when we have time because we run up against somebody else. Who else has a point?
Brother Will, this is Tom Holt.
Yes, sir. Okay, Tom.
And I, first of all, I'm sitting here, my heart is breaking. I was an educator in Newark for 17 years, and I taught civics to every one of my classes, taught in some of the less fortunate schools, and all of my kids knew how to register, when to register, what propaganda was, and the whole 9 yards. And to hear that no one's doing that anymore just breaks my heart. But here's it. I have 3 points I'd like to make. 1, for the candidates, by Friday, find out the following. Very early on, you complained about the superintendent's contract being renewed in the dark of night. Find out whether it is cancelable. Can it be canceled? It's a simple question. It's a 5-year contract. Can it be canceled, and what are the penalties? Second, stop asking for the report. Whatever the report is, ask for the contract that led to the report. That's a public document. I was a contracting officer for the federal government for 20 years. You cannot hide the contract. Get the contract,
Hello?
read it.
No, who's speaking? What's your name, sir?
My name is Tom Holt. No longer a resident of Newark, but I love Newark.
Welcome, Mr. Holt.
Tom Holt.
Okay.
Spell the last name, sir.
Let him finish, Susan. Let him finish, please.
No, go ahead. I just want to make sure, Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead and finish.
Okay. And third, and this is a radical proposal that when you are on the board, is going to blow people's mind. It is not impossible. It just takes a lot of time. Forget about English as a second language. Grades preschool through 5th grade are to be bilingual. You choose the other language. It's English and another language, and all of the curriculum is taught in both languages. That takes time because you're not going to find enough bilingual teachers. But when you learn a language other than the language of your parents, you're being taught how to think. And that takes care of all of the testing that comes down the road. And now I've said my piece, and I will listen to the rest.
Before you go, sir, can you get in contact with us? Gave a lot of information, very, very educational. We can be reached. Do you have a pen and paper, sir?
Thank you so much.
I can. Brother Will give me your contact
I have all of this information, Susan.
Great. No worries.
Going back to 1999, I got everything on them.
And that is scary, brother.
We are at Q&A. Someone else can step up to the plate. Do we have any other questions?
Peace and blessings. How's everybody doing?
Okay, great.
This is Moose.
Outstanding.
Okay, Brother Muta is another candidate for the board. Okay, Muta El-Amin, you have the floor, brother.
Peace and blessings to all. I apologize for coming in on the call so late. I was running around, but I've been sitting around listening for about a half hour, and I like the comments that the last young man made. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm one of the candidates off the It Takes a Village, 8788 Muta Alamein Che Kulture, and we want to make sure we bring in that male energy to the school board. Right now, we see the direction that it's going in, and it's like, all right, are we comfortable with this direction it's going in? If we're not comfortable with this direction it's going in, we're sure that the slate has won 100% of the elections. So we would have to attribute the direction it's going in to the slate. So if we want to go to a different direction, we got to start picking different people. We got to start moving in a radically different direction. We understand that it costs about $22,000 to educate each student. That's a lot of money. $22,000 a year per student. That's a lot of money. And what we get is excuses. Our last debate that we had, the North Forward slate, just all the questioners, they just were saying, yeah, no, we did this and we're doing this and nothing's wrong. And the kids are looking at them like, why would we ask these questions if nothing's wrong? And because they have all of the resources, all of the reach, they feel as though they don't have to come on platforms like this. They feel as though they're too big to come on platforms like this because their dollars has already put mail-in ballots. So they already put enough money out to put a mail-in ballot in every single resident's mailbox. They know that costs a lot of money, and for us that's difficult. So whereas though they misuse platforms like this, we appreciate this because we definitely need to get the message out to as many people as possible.
Thank you very much.
You're saying they had a meeting on Saturday, and they're supposed to be from 11 to 1, and only the children were asking the questions. But somehow they cut the meeting in half and ended it at 12 o'clock because the children were firing them up. Is that what happened?
That is what happened.
Oh, well. That's powerful.
They didn't even let us get a closing remark.
That's right. We were supposed to get a closing remark, and they just cut it dead into just like, oh, it's over. We were like, wait, what? According to the agenda, we were supposed to have a closing remark because we were going to eat them for lunch. But that's what was going to happen.
Okay, so that means then whatever we talked about, Bull Connor and Jim Clark and George Wallace and all those people who are keeping black people from having the right to vote and this and that, it seems that Jim Clark North is in the Newark City Hall. Jim Clark North is up in the City Hall, and he got a blackface. What a shame. Go on.
So let me read this right quick about this report. Because in it, it was just, first Leon wouldn't even let the board members see what was in it. So when they finally saw it, and I'm quoting from the article, it says, in a call with Chalk Beat Newark on Wednesday, Vice President Dawn Haynes, one of the board members who has read the report, said it was traumatizing to read. Those students and staff that were affected by the environment at the School of Global Studies show a deeper concern as a whole with racism and separation that should never be tolerated in any school, said Haynes, whose daughter was among those transferred out of the school due to the ongoing religious and racist harassment she experienced. And then it talked that they spoke to the two teachers who had a lawsuit themselves. You mentioned it, Sir Host, on earlier on, how they had to go on themselves and leave, but they also had to sue the school, and they're the instructors. But I just wanted to add that we were talking about the Creed report. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to continue talking about this. on Friday and on Sunday and the next Friday and the next Sunday, and we can co-opt some more time and get people to come in. We want as many of the community people to come in and hear this, because the community doesn't know this, and they need to hear that people like Muta and like Coulter and yourself and Montague are people who are actually out here trying to do something to bring attention to all of this. And at the same time, people who work for the City Hall or are getting money from the grants from the City Hall, they have to be quiet. They have jobs, and they don't want to get fired. And their children can't talk either because they don't want their parents to lose their jobs. So we're at 7:40, and we don't have any more time. We have 10 minutes to just close out here. And I would like, first of all, to thank everybody for coming out at short notice. But I promise you, Friday we'll have a program that will be even multifaceted and even more powerful, because it seems like Lawrence Ham will be on talking about not just the children voting, but about leadership among children. And I guess he's going to say a word or two about himself, because he's actually got a chance to make an upset in the Senate race, maybe because Candy Murphy dropped out. And then they're going to have the candidate, Jimmy White, come and talk about his view for the Board of Education. And then, we're going to keep rolling it over. And, of course, I'm hoping that Brother Muta, Brother Coulter, and Sister Deborah will come back, and that the people in the audience will come back. But in the meantime, at about 8 o'clock, there's a show coming on with Brother King David. I'm not sure exactly the whole gist of his program, but that'll be at 8 o'clock today. And then after that, I don't think there's any more this evening, but at 7 o'clock every morning we have a prayer meeting. And as it looks like the show will have to end in about 3 minutes, looks like. And does anybody have a point they want to make before I point out that, very seriously, that we have music on here, the best of Coltrane, and we did no copyright infringement. Nobody got paid. We didn't get any money off of these people coming, and we abided by all the rules of patent law. Now, how do we reach each of you three candidates? First, I'll start with Brother Muta. What is your email or telephone that you would like to give the people?
My phone number is 973-337-3232. That is 973-337-3232. My email address is occupiednwk@gmail.com. That is OCCUPYNWK@gmail.com.
On, yes.
Yes, you want me to go?
Sister Coulter, Sister Deborah, please.
Coulter,
Well, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
All right. So my email, you can actually go to my website at Deborah, DEBRA, Salters, SALTERS.com, or my email is Warrior, WARRIOR, the number 4, THPPL@gmail.com. You can reach me there or at 862-351-5596. A1 gets it done.
Okay, Brother Jay.
Good evening, y'all, and thank you for this intergenerational connection that we're doing. My email is Parent Bill of Rights, New Jersey, Parent Bill of Rights, NJ, @gmail.com. So Parent Bill of Rights, nj@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I appreciate this platform for lending it to Mutai, Deborah, and I. And we are back to the community. Every day we're pounding the pavement and getting this message out to the community. So I appreciate you and Ms. Newton and Deborah and Mutai.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you.
We are going to continue until Election Day to restore freedom and liberation in the classroom. Thank you.
Okay, and
candidates, don't give up, don't give in, and don't give out. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Okay, well, we want to end this with
power to the people.
The revolution will not be televised.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still life of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Key, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs and make cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.